Hi, my name is Craig Heidi, and I'm getting my endorsement in educational leadership through Fort Hays State University. I have just finished up my practicum here at my school, Project Plus, which is with Greenbush on the south side of Topeka. And I want to show you my e-portfolio that I put together, which includes all the activities and things that I have completed during my time here as a practicum for a building administrator. The first part of my ePortfolio is my goals, and I have a little intro video there where you can learn a little bit about myself. It tells you about my personal goals as well as my professional goals and just things about my family and my interests that I have. As far as professional goals go, I do hope that to become a building administrator. I would like to become a building administrator at a therapeutic day school, but I'm also open and interested in other opportunities that might come my way. And in the future, I really do hope to become a special education administrator at some point. So moving on from my goals, like I said, you can watch that intro video, but I really want to draw attention to my philosophy of leadership. And for me, I really have some principles that I want to pull out, those right there in red, that relationships are the driving force of change, to always be curious, failure is a mechanism for growth, influencing is about setting the example for people, be genuine and authentic to yourself. And I believe that diversity and collaboration are keys to success. And those are really the driving force behind my own personal leadership, which is leading by example and empowering others to do their best and to lead with the skills they have. And so I encourage you to look through that a little bit more on your own time, because I think that this will share a lot about how I will lead in a building role. The next area on my ePortfolio is my plan of study. So if you're interested in the classes I took, it tells you when I took them. I've kind of spread them out over the last 2 years to get this endorsement, and it tells you about the various classes that I took and in particular when I took them. I also have on here my resume, which tells you about my history and my work experience that I have and what I do. So definitely feel free to look at that closer. Um, I've been a social worker in various places, as well as I work part-time at Vallejo Behavioral Health Care. We have a activity component tracker on here, which tells you the standards that I have for a educational leadership and what those are for our program, and then what activities I did that kind of matched those standards. And so I have that on there, as well as the administrative verification forms. I had my practicum experience under Principal Jeff Stevie, who has a ton of experience being a building level principal at regular school and especially at a day school in the last 3 or 4 years. And I learned so much in our conversations with him just about decision making, about how to manage people, and overall just day-to-day operations. And so I learned, again, a significant amount of just knowledge just by picking his brain and having great conversations with him. I also have a administrative verification from my assistant director of special education for Greenbush, who I was able to take on some tasks for Greenbush from a district role, and that's from Ryan Burns. Again, it was a great practicum experience with the leadership that I have in place. They really helped inform my knowledge and helped me get on the right path for where I want to go as a building leader. The next part of my ePortfolio is the annotated bibliography. One of the assignments that we had for our practicum was to review 33 different articles in our annotated bibliography. And all these had various things that we had to look at, which was mission and vision statements, collaborative culture, how to integrate your schools with communities, looking at inclusive practices for kids, various professional and ethical norms that school leaders should have. And so we had to do an assessment on the article, a summary and assessment, and then we had to provide our own personal reflection. This one talks about what does equity mean to a school leader. And so these really were quite informing. When you look at all the information that is out there, you can find a lot of great knowledge and experience that has been shared with other people in these roles as building leaders. And I really enjoyed this part of our class because of the knowledge base that I was able to gain. And not only that, I could then go to Jeff and talk with him about some of these things that were kind of thought-provoking when I'm looking at education as a whole. So again, like I said, it was a lot to take on when you're reviewing that many articles, but overall it helped prepare me a little bit better for the role of a principal and some of the aspects that maybe don't get pulled in as much as others when you're doing that day-to-day grind as a leader. So that was great. Now I'm going to dig into the activities I had. We had to create these PowerPoints to show the activities that we've kind of done. And this first one here is EduClimber, administrator and trainer. So at our day school, we keep track of everyone's data. So we want to see what time of day that a kid might have better or worse times. We also want to keep track of the days of the week, if there's a certain day that they might be off throughout the week. And we also track if they're safe, respectful, or teachable. And we do that all on this system called EduClimber. And I am an district administrator over this. And so I train individuals at our other two sites down in Parsons as well as at Garnett. And it's just a technology system that helps us be able to be informed about our behavior. And if you click on here, there's a step-by-step direction about how we enter our point sheets, so that I could share with some of the people down south if they had any questions. The next one is I also have this role of being a social work forum coordinator for Greenbush. And so I coordinate these forums 4 times throughout the year. I do in-person as well as virtual. And I create learning opportunities for them to come and learn about professional norms for school social workers, as well as what best practices there are across the state. And this is for social workers across the state of Kansas. And so I do a lot of work with that and creating these opportunities for them to learn as more of just an administrator role doing this. And this one, we also are using Second Step as a curriculum base, and I'm an administrator over that as well. So being able to, again, work with our South down in Parsons as well as Garnett on some of the Second Step curriculum and how to administrate that on a regular basis. And the other district one is I had to create this school board video presentation for Project Plus, and the school board is from down in the Girard area where Greenbush main hub is located, and so there's a video about our school that you can watch and kind of see what Project Plus is all about. I did a lot of the videotaping and editing just to make sure that we were including everything that we could about our kids. And then the last district one was a resource advocacy. We were trying to hire a teacher last year, and I went around and looked at all the salaries and tried to compare them from our local schools to determine if our salary was competitive with what's around us, because we want to have the best staff that we can in a school setting like this. And based on the students that we do serve, it is a little more difficult job, and so that salary should be increased. And so I was able to get those numbers and compare them, and then advocate for changes with my building principal as well as the assistant special ed director. In the elementary activities that I did, there's many things that kind of stood out, and so this one was he's just evaluating the mission and vision statements of Greenbush, and I have a document there that I created, just kind of evaluating what Project Plus was. The second activity, emergency safety interventions, which is something that sometimes we have to use here at Project Plus. And so this was about the trainings that I do, as well as some of the paperwork that we have to do from an administrative perspective when an ESI happens. On this one, we're talking about a school-wide reinforcement plan. One thing that I noticed was that we needed some more positive reinforcement for our school climate and culture. And so I created this reinforcement plan which provides weekly rewards as well as random community building opportunities, and then monthly rewards based on their behavior. And so it's a threefold address, and this has really been quite positive because it's changed the overall interaction of our school when we provide all this positive responses to what we've seen out of the kids, and we do that every Friday. And the kids really look forward to it because they get to hear their names and what's something positive that they did throughout the week while they've been here with us. WebKids, I've had to advocate for WebKids access. We have 8 to 9 different districts with us, and so with our new teacher, I had to get her set up on all our WebKids so she could do the IEPs, which was quite difficult when you're trying to collaborate with so many people on getting access to systems. I discussed some instructional strategies with a lot of our teachers, especially our elementary classroom, on what's the best instructional practices for the kids that we have, and how can we be more online learning or group learning, as well as kind of center learning, so that it's more hands-on for them. This one, we do a lot of collaborative problem solving with here, and so I lead our after-school meetings, but focused on collaborative problem solving engagement. And so we do these trainings with our staff on how to be working with students and trying to figure out what the issues were and having them be a part of it. And it's really helped create a common language for us, as well as focusing on what those kids are lagging skill-wise, and not just something that's their response to behavior. I make a lot of parental contacts in my role as administrator this year, and so this is some of the pictures. Sometimes I'll send these pictures to the parents about positive reinforcement of things that these kids are doing while they're here with us, and that's had a huge help with our engagement with our parents, in my opinion. Recruiting and interviewing teachers and paras, I did that, and I was part of the team that did this to help with this process. Just trying as we ask these interview questions, and these are some of the questions that we'd ask our teacher when we had 3 or 4 interviews this last spring when we were going through this process. And the last one for elementary is that leading in-service trainings. I've led 2 or 3 different in-services trainings for our staff this year. And this one was on collaborative problem solving, in particular about how we can help our self-care and being able to work with our kids in a responsive way based on their needs. For our secondary activities, we have student transition meetings with Shawnee Heights in particular, as well as other school districts, but they come out once a month, the Shawnee Heights team, and we sit and meet, and we have the students come in and talk about how they're doing and if they have any transition hopes of going back to their high school or other schools in the district. And so I've been a part of that transition meeting from an administrator perspective. I've also helped coordinate some of our online learning platforms like Edmentum, MobyMax, and other things that we use, and just trying to assess them as an administrator. Thinking skills inventory. We also take this inventory on every student that we have, which focuses on their skills and lagging skills, and I've been able to put that together so we have some technology with it. Communicating with our Forbes Field, collaboration with our Combat Air Museum, the Airport Cafe, and other people that we do things with. You know, these activities on here are really quite being an IEP, a meeting administrator, and helping just create various opportunities for our staff to come to and listen. And in this opportunity, I have lots of them come in and listen, or come in and talk to me about various concerns they have, and so I listen to them and I help try to address their problems, which is another aspect of being a building administrator, is trying to figure out how to work through those conflicts so everyone in the building can be agreeable and work together. And the last part is just the program reflection I have about the whole program and what I felt and learned during this process. And I learned so much about myself and what I can do as a leader, and it gave me a lot of confidence that for whenever I move on from this role into a building administrator role, I think that I'll be able to take on those duties and do it with high integrity and lead my staff in a positive direction. I really found a passion for wanting to be a building administrator through this educational leadership program, and I hope that moving forward, I can have that opportunity so that I can lead other people and lead kids to successful opportunities.